If you're watching this, then I bet you're probably wondering how to fish jerkbaits for bigger bass. Instead, I'm going to give you the information that bass anglers want to keep secret. In this week's episode, I'm going to go over what, when, where, and how to use a jerkbait more effectively. And after watching this video, you'll have all the confidence you need in the jerkbait before ever throwing it in the water. Stick around. A jerkbait is longer and more narrow than a crankbait. This lure will either have a small lip in the front to help it dive and wiggle through the water, or no lip at all. The best way to tell a lipless jerkbait from a lipless crankbait is to look for the toe eyelet. The eyelet will be on the front of the jerkbait, or the toe eyelet will be on the top of a lipless crankbait. Jerkbait can be designed to float, suspend, or sink, and are specifically designed to imitate a wounded baitfish trying to swim. Something to remember is that some jerkbait can actually be fished in a similar manner to a crankbait, even though it is designed to be ripped through the water. Always be open-minded to fishing the jerkbait the same way you would fish a crankbait when you need a lure with a more unique presentation. This is a good opportunity, if you haven't yet, to hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up down below. It helps us out a lot and also lets us know that the content we're providing is something that you want to see. If you guys ever have any questions, then please don't hesitate to leave it in the comments below or reach out to us on our Instagram. Right there. Our goal for these episodes is to teach new anglers and provide seasoned anglers with the information that is going to give them more confidence in this type of lure and help them land bigger bass. Make sure you share this video with someone you know who wants out fishing. It just might make their day. Now this is another lure that can catch big bass all year long. The main thing to keep in mind is the temperature of the water and the weather you're fishing in. Now with that being said, the best time to throw a jerkbait is when the water temp is between 50 and 70 degrees. This is when bass are most active. They'll either be bedding or migrating and will be looking for wounded baitfish to feed on. And the suspending jerkbait will be just a ticket during this time. Now if you're going to use this lure on a hot summer day, I would use a suspending or a lipless jerkbait to get down to the depth that the bass are holding. While summer cools off into fall, you'll want to start using a floating or shallow suspending jerkbait. And once winter hits, that's when you want to go back to a deeper suspending jerkbait or the lipless type. After winter thaws into spring though, a floating to a mid-range suspending jerkbait will work better. Hey, so far in this video, I've explained what a jerkbait is, the best time to use each style of this lure, and coming up next, I'm going to tell you the best places to fish a jerkbait, as well as how you want to fish it throughout the year. So don't go anywhere. During the summer, when the water is at its warmest, bass will actually be looking to position themselves underneath thicker vegetation. They will also be found under submerged structure, but when the water is too warm, you might need to look to offshore ledges. Keep in mind that bass can still be found under thick vegetation in more shallow water though, and in places with a lot of shade. When fishing a jerkbait in the summertime, it's best to either use it early in the morning or when the sun starts to set, because that's when the water starts to get cooler. The best type of jerkbait to throw during midday would be a suspending or a lipless style jerkbait. This will help you better position your lure at the depth that the fish are feeding. Fall is the second best time to use a jerkbait because as colder weather starts making its way in, bass will instinctively begin a feeding frenzy before winter sets in. This is also a crucial time when shad start spawning, and bass know this very well. Bass will start to move back to the feeding areas that they use to stage before the spawn. The flats in the creeks off of the main body of water should be the first place to look for feeding bass. During winter, bass will be found on the drop-off points. Once the water warms up just a little bit though, bass will actually begin to move up to the lip of the drop-off points, and this puts them in the effective range for a jerkbait. In the spring, bass will begin moving up from the deep water to start another feeding frenzy before finding a place to bed. Shoreline pockets and small coves will be a really good place to start looking for bass getting ready to spawn. Another great place to find a big one will be under the docks near the sheltered coves. Now, before I talk about how to fish each one of these lures, I want to remind everyone that picking the size of your lure is just as important as picking the color. Before you throw this type of lure, you should always try to match the average size and shade of the bait fish in the water that you're fishing. This is something that you really need to keep in mind. Now, in the summertime, when the water is warm, you should increase the times you twitch the lure and decrease the amount of time that you pause the lure. You will also want to be fishing about 10 to 15 feet deep depending on your water clarity. As the water begins to cool down from summer into fall, you'll want to slow down the speed of your retrieval accordingly. This is the time to reduce the times you twitch the lure and increase the length that you pause your lure. When fishing in the winter, we all know that you have to fish. This is also very true about jerkbait. It's best to use a 1 or 2 twitch pattern and a very long pause. Now, moving on from winter, while the water's still cold, you'll want to use the similar pattern that you used during the winter time. But as the warmer weather moves in, a good way to modify this pattern is to increase the amount of times that you twitch the lure and shorten the length of time that you pause in between each twitch. While the water temperature is increasing, you should match your retrieval accordingly. Well, we made it through another episode. Thank you to those who've watched it this far into the video. Now, we would really love to hear your thoughts on the information that we provided you. So please, drop us some comments below. And be sure to tag us on Instagram because we'd also really like to see the fish that you catch because of this video. Again, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, then please make sure you do because it really helps us out. And make sure you enable the little bell down there so that you'll get notified when new fishing tip episodes are uploaded. As always, please share this with someone who needs help fishing. You never know, it could really make their day. Thank you again for watching episode 9 of Fishing Tip Tuesday.